What's going on? Brian Tong here, and this is my review for the Google Pixel 8 Pro. It's no secret, right? Google is still the challenger in the smartphone space, but it's always been approaching their phone in a unique way by putting artificial intelligence front and center. And the Pixel 8 Pro, this is loaded with features for their AI vision. Now we're gonna dig into all of that, but let's start off with the design. This Pixel 8 Pro has a 6.7-inch super actual display, which gets even brighter to help its images and content look true to life, even when looking directly in the sun. And it reaches 2400 nits at peak brightness with a variable refresh rate up to 120 hertz. And the phone, it just feels as smooth to use when you're navigating through the menus, through the OS. You don't feel any lag. This display, it looks great. And the body now has slightly more contoured edges that just feel and fit better in hand compared to the sharper 7 Pro. And I know you're gonna either love or hate this camera bar design, but I've always liked how it's a bold and unique take compared to any other phone. I mean, this is iconic to the Pixel, and a big plus, look, it doesn't wobble on the table, right? Its back has this silky smooth feeling to it, and this is striking, right? It's bay blue color. It only rivals, to me, the rose color on the other Pixel 8. Now, it also comes in a classy off-white porcelain and a dark obsidian colorway, but most of us, we put our phones in a case now, so that might change how much you actually enjoy the colors. But let's get to the heart of this phone, and it's all about Google's Tensor G3 chip, a processor custom made by Google, and it's in its 3rd generation, and it takes a big leap here when it comes to handling and processing more AI tasks, twice as many compared to the Pixel 6 2 generations ago. And that's really a big increase that some of you might shrug at first, but this drives all the unique AI features that separate this from the entire smartphone market. Now, Tensor G3 has been improved across the board, from its CPU to its GPU, its image signal processor, and more. So sure, it doesn't have the raw power of the iPhone, the S23 Ultra, and others, and there are no benchmark tests out there for comparison, but you don't need a benchmark test to know that this chip is more than fast enough to handle everything that you expect it to, from navigation to pure Android 14 on this phone. Also, playing games like Asphalt 9, you're tearing through all the streets. I'm taking down baddies in Call of Duty without lag and not being the worst player on your team, like Alex. And then Marvel Snap, hey, you know that's important too to me. I gotta see those animations at 60 frames per second. So I had no issues with lag from that standpoint. Tensor G3 includes their AI engine, right? This is custom designed to run Google AI models, and the 8 Pro is the first phone to be able to do this on device. It is just present in so many features on this device, so I say like, hey, let's get through some of them. And you have to start with the camera, right? Well, we know last year's Pixel 7 Pro was arguably the best camera in a phone, and now Google brings an all-new triple lens camera system to the 8 Pro. That's a 50 megapixel wide main camera. Then you have a 48 megapixel ultra wide and a 48 megapixel telephoto, and all of them have improved their light sensitivity. So here's a shot of a porg on a lawn, and we've seen Magic Eraser remove things from the background, but it's even better this year because you got Magic Editor, and now I can take an object like the porg, I can select it, I can resize it, I can move the porg around, I can get rid of objects like this leaf in the background. And let's be honest, this can be hit or miss depending on what you're trying to edit, and sometimes it really hits, and other times it really misses, but this is still a powerful tool that can come in handy and clean up some of your pics. Now, my new favorite feature has to be Best Take, and I was at an event called Family Fest in LA, and I took this group shot. I took about 4 or 5 pics here, and what I do is, once I find them, I can go into Edit, and then find Tools, and then choose Best Take, and it takes a moment for this to process and load this feature, but once it does, I can then select each person's face. I can pick out the best expression to put together the best version of this photo in a moment. I'm just kind of switching between different people, and all of a sudden you get this picture, and this can be huge for people with young kids who are, you know, they aren't staring at the camera all the time, or maybe you got pets where the pet looks at one time and everyone else is like trying to get your dog or your cat to look. I love it. And I've heard people in the comments say, how do you know if it's a real picture? Like, I don't like this. Well, honestly, I'm completely okay with it because these photos were taken moments, like split seconds from each other. And it's not like we're putting in something that didn't exist. I mean, this solves a problem without being over intrusive. And so does Magic Editor, where you're removing content instead of adding objects to it out of nowhere. I think that's where the difference. Google's saying, okay, you can remove some things, but we're not gonna let you just completely add all this new random stuff, at least not yet. Now, if you're creating fake items in a picture, yeah, that feels like a little too much for me. And if you feel icky about it, guess what? Don't use it. It's that simple. Now let's go to a video clip and check out Magic Audio Eraser. This is an awesome feature, so let's just watch this clip for a moment. All right, so let's do an Audio Magic Eraser test. I'm out here in my front yard. There's a trimmer going on over there. There's like a plane flying over there. There's some stuff happening here right now. Let's see what it sounds like. Okay, so then I'm gonna go and select Edit, then Audio, and then we see Audio Eraser, and it takes a moment to process it again, but what's actually happening in the background is that it's analyzing the audio, and then it separates the different sounds it detects from one another. I'll just use the default auto mode that cleans it up because it just does a really good job. So let's listen to this again. All right, so let's do an Audio Magic Eraser test. I'm out here in my front yard. There's a trimmer going on over there. There's like a plane flying over there. There's some stuff happening here right now. Let's see what it sounds like. That is just incredible. Come on, that is Google's AI doing its magic. And if you want, you can manually lower different types of sounds separately from each other. But for me, auto generally just does a really good job. Now, let's talk about a feature that hasn't rolled out yet. It's Video Boost. And it's gonna take video footage that you took, maybe in a darker situation or at night, and upload it to Google servers if you choose to. And it will then enhance it, bringing up the brightness, the colors, also some motion smoothing, and all the processing is done off the phone, and then it will send it back to your phone later on. I didn't get to try this out for obvious reasons because it's not available yet, but in my first look, just the idea of it is pretty fascinating, and it could be more popular with general consumers because if you're creative and you're filming a specific scene or shot, you're probably shooting it with the intention of creating a shot in a way that it looks exactly how you're recording it in that moment. But this is just another example of how Google is looking to leverage its servers and its AI prowess. And to be honest, Video Boost, this is just the start of what they can do. Now, I also enjoy the summarize feature, and all you have to do is find an article that you want to read. What you do is you do a long press on the power button, and it gives you the summarize option. So I'm just going to hit that. It takes a moment, and then it just breaks down all the key points from an article. This didn't work on every site I went to, and subscription-based sites were also unable to use this feature. So it works sometimes, but not every time. Also, I didn't get a chance to use the new call screening feature in action, and I feel like when I come across that, it's gonna be really neat. Pixel already has the best speech recognition as well on a phone, and now it's the first phone that is able to identify multiple languages when you're switching back and forth between them while in the same message. Now, there's other AI features, big and small, but these are really the hot ones that stick out for me and make this Pixel 8 Pro just a refreshing and unique experience that no one else is doing. Now, the next level of the Google Assistant will bring Bard, which brings generative AI capabilities here, and it can do everything from help plan a grocery list for you, it can recommend a path on a trail, or create captions for your photos to post on social media. Google showed this off. It's not out yet, but Google says it's coming soon, and to me, we're gonna have to wait to try it out. This is a significant feature that will really just transform how you use this phone even more, but it's not out yet. So it can't be evaluated for what it is. Now, it also remains to be seen which features Google will allow other platforms to use. And it's not as integrated, but we know that the Google Assistant, that's currently available on iOS. And you can also take advantage of the Magic Eraser feature if you're a Google One subscriber as well on iPhone. So Magic Eraser, not Magic Editor, which is the new one. But do some of these new AI features require the on-device machine learning models that only the Pixel 8 Pro has? Google hasn't said anything about that yet, and many of these features won't even be available on the standard Pixel 8. So it seems unlikely, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, I talked about the new camera system, but you probably want to actually see some photo comparisons, right? So I have a few here, and I'm going to say that there are some mixed results right out of the gates, and I'll have an even more in-depth photo comparison video later on, but I'm comparing the Pixel 8 Pro to the iPhone 15 Pro Max and the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. But let's first revisit the porg shot, which is in direct sunlight, which is some harsher lighting. And this is a regular photo and not a portrait mode one. You'll notice a few themes here where by default, Pixel 8 Pro images, they tend to be a little cooler. iPhone 15 Pro Max are always a little warmer. Then Galaxy S23 Ultra tends to be a little overexposed and boosts the contrast. I will say that S23 Ultra has the punchiest colors here with more contrast in the photos, but the iPhone 15 Pro and Pixel 8 Pro bring a more natural look with the color temperatures that I mentioned, cooler for Pixel and warmer for iPhone. Now there's a lot more detail here. If you look closely on the tummy fur on the porg with the Pixel and iPhone versus the S23 Ultra, if you're looking close enough, but I was there when this picture was taken, and without knowing anything, I lean towards the warmth of the iPhone, but the Pixel captured this image the most accurately. All right, let's go to a portrait mode picture of Shauna outside, and I had seen some reports about artifacts appearing in odd places for Pixel in some photos, and I saw it for the first time here. So if you look at Shauna's neck in the iPhone and Galaxy photo, but then look at the Pixel one, I'm gonna zoom in here for you, and it almost looks like the Pixel either over sharpened too much, but it created these weird artifacts on her neck that the others just don't have. Her skin tone color was actually represented the best here in the Pixel photo. It looks great, but the artifacts on there, not good. And if you look on Shauna's white shirt on the Pixel, you'll see this moire effect. That looks like a wavy pattern that appears on top of it. That doesn't happen on the iPhone or Galaxy photos. Now you can see the Galaxy photo, again, more contrasted and boosted bright, but it just doesn't look very natural. And then the iPhone 15 Pro Max is warmer in color and probably the most even here. The Pixel 8 Pro did just come out, but I think it's gonna need to do something to address this in software, hopefully. So knowing their track record with photos, at least for now, I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt for now, but right out of the gates, this is a problem. Okay, let's check out this gas pump shot, and these are all generally looking nice. Again, the Galaxy photo has the most contrast, but doesn't look as natural. It's not bad. The Pixel and iPhone, though, do a great job here. And again, Pixel's cooler, bluer shade just a little bit, while the iPhone goes a little warmer. The iPhone, though, comes off a little too warm here compared to what the actual light temperature was when I shot this. And the Pixel represented the shot the best here as well. Now, the Pixel and iPhone also do have better depth of field. You can see, if you look carefully, the pipes that are kind of more in the background on the left and right side behind the pump, they're out of focus, giving a nicer depth of field, where the Galaxy keeps those pipes in the background more in focus. Okay, let's take a look at a macro shot and this fire hydrant. It's yellow. The biggest thing to note here is how the iPhone keeps almost everything in focus in its macro mode, while the Pixel and Galaxy bring a more dramatic depth of field in their macro shots to really focus on the hydrant's end. And it makes your eyes focus more on that spot, and it just does create a more visually appealing image to me. But again, the Pixel coloring accurately captured the scene the best, so I'm picking Pixel here for this one. Okay, finally, let's do some night mode shots, and the Pixel was the first phone that brought this mode to smartphones. They called it night sight, so this really quickly is what each photo captured with their low light modes turned off. And then here is what it looks like when the low light mode was turned on. And I don't think it's rocket science here. The Galaxy S23 Ultra does its best, but trails behind the other two. But it's the iPhone 15 Pro Max that just handles this low light situation the best. The Pixel 8 Pro looks good, but the iPhone is just another level up here. So there you go. It is a mixed bag of results, which happens in these comparisons, and you can pull on some trends with how these phones, cameras process images differently, but I've got to assume that there will be a fix with the Pixel 8 Pro that takes care of that over sharpening and the artifacts, because it absolutely needs to be resolved. So maybe the verdict is still out, but in a lot of situations you can see this camera does great, but there are some instances where why is that there? Now, you did see the Pixel 8 really excel in representing the pictures best based on actual lighting and color temperature. And none of these cameras are chumps, but I also think Samsung needs to just lay off on the contrast and go for a more natural look. Like, on device, their photos, they really pop on Galaxy displays, but when you're comparing them to others and you're finally looking at them on the same screen, you can really see the differences. And I'm just comparing what comes out directly from these cameras. I know that's what most of you care about. Yes, you can edit them in post, but a lot of times, we just see what we take. Now, you also have the ability to access Pro controls on the Pixel 8 Pro to give you a whole lot more control of the camera, from everything to ISO, color temperature, file size, and more. And after using this for over a week, the Pixel 8 Pro battery life got me through the day, other than obviously setup day, and then when you're taking photos and videos with it nonstop for this review. That's not an accurate way of how we use it, but everyone's use is gonna be different. But I'm confident with normal use, most of you are gonna get through a day as well. Now, another feature that has slid under the radar here and isn't being talked about, the Pixel 8 Pro supports Wi-Fi 7. That is the next gen flavor of Wi-Fi that's faster. It supports more connections with low latency and with a potential maximum data rate over 2 times faster than Wi-Fi 6 and 6E at 5.8 gigabits per second. So you could potentially transfer a 15 gig file in 25 seconds over that connection. Now, I'm guessing Google didn't talk about it because their own Wi-Fi routers don't have Wi-Fi 7 support just yet, but this is a great future-proof feature that's in the 8 Pro. And then let's not forget about this little temperature sensor guy here, right? This could be a real sleeper feature. It's the first that I know of on a phone, and it does what you expect it to. It measures the temperature of surfaces when you have it nearby. I did it on a wall, I did it against someone's skin, and Google is hoping that the FDA approves it to be used to get temperature readings from people, right? If I just like scan myself and then offering health suggestions. And this will only be more powerful if you have a wearable to then detect other biometrics and you combine all that data. It might even help me when I'm cooking something in the future, but look, it's another first of its kind on a phone. And it's a feature though that we're gonna have to wait and see how it plays out. But I do think it's really interesting and could have potentially a lot of utility. Now, Google also said they'll be supporting all of their future phones, starting with the Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro, for at least 7 years with OS, features, and security updates. And this is really a moment where Google is confident in its current hardware, and more than anything, also its untapped potential of what more this could do with the Pixel lineup and beyond. And this is great for consumers as well, because support like that just didn't happen in the past. All right, so let's get to the ultimate question. Who is this phone for, right? Well, it feels like things have become stagnant in the smartphone space. You felt it, I felt it, and yes, we all love our ecosystems. I mean, that's what keeps us locked in. This phone, though, this just feels like something new that is taking us to a new direction for phones. It feels like we finally have a phone from Google that has differentiated itself from the market now by leaps and bounds and is just ready to showcase all of its AI prowess. Like, if you're a previous Pixel owner, you're used to some of these features, but the 8 Pro, come on, it has really beefed up the AI features this time around. And then if you're tired of the platform you're on, this is really the breath of fresh air that you need. This is a full-fledged flagship phone that can hang with the top tier ones in the market. If you can't leave your ecosystem, let's be honest, you were never going to in the first place, hey, that's okay too. And from Google's perspective, even Google knows that it's a big challenge to get people to stop caring about blue bubbles in the Messages app. And maybe it will take the European Union to get Apple to eventually switch over to RCS messaging. I mean, because it was the only entity that got Apple to move over to USB-C. And it is kind of funny to say that out loud. Like, that's what it actually took, but it's also not funny at the same time. And as a creator who makes videos, the video quality is still superior for me on an iPhone. They're working to getting it better here. Also, transferring the footage is also just a breeze between devices. That's an AirDrop ecosystem benefit. And I'm gonna pay attention to what camera software fixes will come in the next few weeks, which I expect they will. And again, they absolutely have to. And there are plenty of features that are still coming, right? You talk about the video boost, that, and then the biggest one of them all, the Google Assistant with Bard, which will potentially be transformative for Pixel users for what they can do directly on a phone. And also this Pixel 8 Pro, I just feel like this is flexing Google's AI muscle and then some, and it's really gonna kind of take off from here. And yes, it's still a challenger in a very competitive market, but this year really feels like the year where Google has made their biggest strides in their smartphone space. With, you got the Pixel Fold, you have the 8 Pro now, and we can really see, right, with the Tensor G3, a near fully formed version of their AI-centric phone, and they should absolutely be taken seriously. Now, if you love technology and you love innovation, then you've got to love what they're doing here. It's really cool stuff. And if you're worried about your privacy and data, look, Apple definitely has that edge over others. And I see the comments, right? I'll never use another platform, but we're already using so many different services and devices daily that it's the trade-off most of us have already given up. Now, if there was an Android phone that I would switch to today, it would be the Pixel 8 Pro, and I actually bought one for myself in this bay blue. I mean, that is how important I think this phone is at a time where phones have felt like they have plateaued some. This one is breaking new ground, and that's all you need to know about how excited I am about the Pixel 8 Pro now and in the future. So I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. That's what they're there for. So thank you so much for watching, and guess what? I'll see you on the next video, all right? Pixel 8 Pro, this is the truth. Peace and love.